Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're opening some particularly dark files from the FBI archives. These aren't just crimes, they're really unsettling stories. Calculated evil, lost innocence, motives that are just incredibly hard to grasp.
Yeah, these are the cases that show a side of, well, human depravity that federal agents confront. They raise some truly terrifying questions, Can someone's whole identity be wiped clean? Can you commit mass murder for pocket change almost?
Exactly. And what's the absolute limit of betrayal? That's what we're looking into today. We're examining three infamous cases. The radicalization of Patty Hearst, the cold-blooded bombing of Flight 629 for insurance money, and a kidnapping that ended with just heartless deception.
We should start with Hearst. It's a story from the early 70s that forces you to ask, can someone really be brainwashed into becoming a terrorist?
It's fascinating, and part of that fascination comes from who she was, right? Patty Hearst, granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst, the media tycoon, immense wealth in her background.
Right, but by 1974, she was trying to live a different life. Just 19, a college sophomore in Berkeley, living pretty modestly with her fiancé.
And that contrast, that connection to massive wealth while living modestly, maybe that's what made her a target for the Symbionese Liberation Army, the SLA.
Definitely. They were radicals. They wanted to hit symbols of American power and wealth. And Patty, well, she embodied that link, even if she wasn't living lavishly herself.
So February 4th, 1974, armed SLA members break into her apartment. It's violent. They attack her fiancé, choke Patty unconscious, throw her in the trunk of a car.
And just like that, she's a prisoner. And the SLA, they weren't unknowns. They were already notorious. They'd murdered Marcus Foster, the Oakland school superintendent, just months before.
Right, with cyanide-tipped bullets. I mean, that detail alone tells you something about their methods. They were lethal, driven by this extreme ideology.
Their first demand was political. Get our members out of prison for the Foster killing. California says no, so they switch gears.
To money. An insane amount, right? $400 million.
Yeah, $400 million, supposedly to feed the poor. The Hearst family responds, puts together a $2 million food relief fund.
Which the SLA just dismisses, called it paltry, and they refuse to release Patty.
And that's the turning point. Negotiations are over. Now it becomes about breaking her.
The details of what they did, it's systematic. Can you walk us through that process?
It's pure psychological destruction. The first week, she's bound, blindfolded, stuffed in a tiny dark closet, nonstop verbal abuse, physical assault, and then the terror of a mock execution.
Designed to just shatter her spirit.
Completely. Sensory deprivation, constant fear, it breaks down your core sense of self. And once that's weakened...
They start the manipulation, the reward.
Exactly. They'd let her out, but only for political discussions. She gets better food, but only if she seems interested, if she participates. They give her their manifesto, things to read, basically turning her prison into a forced indoctrination camp.
And then comes the final ultimatum.
Yeah, from the SLA founder, Donald DeFries. He tells her, basically, negotiations failed, you're no use to us anymore, you'll be killed, unless you join us.
And her explanation later was just chillingly simple. She said she accommodated my thoughts to coincide with theirs.
Right. Is that genuine belief?
Yeah.
Or is it just the ultimate act of survival under duress? We don't know for sure. But the blindfold comes off, she swears an oath, and Patty Hearst effectively ceases to exist. She becomes Tanya.
Learns to handle weapons, participates in their political sessions, becomes an urban guerrilla, as she later called herself.
And the world sees this transformation on April 15th, 1974, the Hibernia Bank robbery.
That surveillance footage is unforgettable. She's there, pale, thin, holding an assault rifle, shouting, "I'm Tanya, up against the wall now." It makes it really hard to just see her as a pure victim after that.
It complicated everything, especially the trial. But there's a tiny detail in that footage, something easy to miss. As they're escaping, Patty hesitates near the getaway car. She's the last one. And you can see one, maybe two SLA members pointing their guns at her. It strongly suggests she might have been forced, threatened with being shot right there if she didn't get in the car.
So even in that moment of apparent defiance, the question of duress hangs there. Wow, when they finally arrested her in 75, she was down to, what, 87 pounds?
Yeah, severely malnourished. The psychologist called her a low IQ zombie, but she listed her occupation as urban guerrilla, said she felt free and strong.
The trial focused on Stockholm Syndrome, but the judge didn't buy it, ruled her actions were voluntary.
But the core horror remains. Could someone, anyone, really be broken down and completely reprogrammed like that just through isolation, starvation, torture in only a few months? It suggests identity is terrifyingly fragile.
It really does. Okay, let's shift gears. From that kind of ideological horror destroying identity, we move to something colder, almost mathematical. Mass murder for an insurance payout. United Airlines Flight 629.
November 1st, 1955. A date many people wouldn't forget. Flight 629 takes off from Denver. 11 minutes later, it explodes over Colorado. 44 people dead. Everyone on board.
Just catastrophic. The FBI gets involved. What was the first big clue in the wreckage?
The state of the tail section. It was cleanly severed, almost sheared off. That immediately suggested an explosion, not, simple mechanical failure. They started painstakingly piecing the wreckage back together.
Like a giant, grim jigsaw puzzle.
Exactly. And they pinpointed the blast origin.
Yeah.
The number 4 cargo hold, meaning the bomb had to be in somebody's checked luggage.
So deliberate. Then came the forensics. What did they find?
Tiny fragments, but crucial ones. Bits of metal with gray soot, traces of dynamite residue, and the clincher, a tiny piece of a 6-volt battery, the kind used in, detonators.
So definitely a bomb, a time bomb. This wasn't terrorism as we might think of it today, but cold-blooded mass murder.
Right. The next step was profiling the victims, 44 lives, who had a motive connected to one of them.
And they landed on Daisy E. King because of life insurance.
Several policies, yes. But the key was who stood to benefit most. Her son, Jack Gilbert Graham. He was 23.
And he'd recently taken out another policy on her.
A $40,000 travel insurance policy, yeah. Right before the flight. And he was the main beneficiary of her will, too. Plus, Graham had a bit of a history. Navy demolition training, a recent forgery conviction that apparently hit him hard financially.
Desperation, knowledge, and opportunity. The motive seemed pretty clear, but they needed more.
The critical piece came from his wife, Gloria. She talked to the investigators.
What did she say?
She remembered the day of the flight. Jack gave his mother a gift just before she left for the airport. A package about shoebox size. He insisted on packing it in her suitcase himself, said it was a surprise.
Okay, that's suspicious.
Very. Gloria also said he was incredibly pale, seemed nauseous after his mother left, and showed almost no grief after the crash was reported. Just strangely detached.
So behavior motive, but still needed that physical link. The smoking gun, so to speak.
He found it in his work clothes. Insulated copper wire, the kind used for blasting cab primers. That's it. That was it. Under questioning, Graham cracked. He confessed everything. Building the bomb. 25 sticks of dynamite, 2 electric primer caps, a timer mechanism, and that 6-volt battery. All packed into the suitcase.
25 sticks of dynamite. On a passenger plane, just unbelievable calculation.
And the chilling part is his lack of remorse. He tried suicide after confessing, but then he talked freely. He said the number of victims, 44 people, quote, made no difference to me. It could have been 1,000.
Just collateral damage for an insurance payout on his own mother.
Exactly. 43 strangers murdered just to collect maybe $40,000. This is one of the most infamous examples of calculated mass murder for pure financial gain. He was executed in 1957.
The sheer indifference is staggering. Okay, our final case tonight moves from financial calculation to perhaps the ultimate betrayal. Kidnapping and ransom, but with a horrifying twist. Bobby Greenlee's 1953.
A really heartbreaking story. September 28, 1953, Kansas City. Bobby Greenlee's is just 6 years old. A woman, Bonnie Hetty, shows up at his school.
And she lies to get him out.
A terrible lie. Told the school staff his mother had just had a heart attack, was rushed to the hospital, and needed Bobby right away. They released him to her.
Oh, God. So trusting. And the kidnappers were Hetty and her accomplice, Carl Austin Hall.
Right. They quickly made their demand, $600,000 ransom. A huge sum back then. To prove they had Bobby, they sent his Jerusalem medal, something personal, to the family.
The family must have been frantic. Did they pay?
They did. Scraped together the $600,000 in cash, left it as instructed, and then they waited.
And the kidnappers contacted them again?
Yes. This is the truly cruel part. October 5th, around 1 a.m., Hall calls the family, confirms they picked up the money, and then he assures them Bobby is alive and well, says he'll be returned within 24 hours.
He assured them, knowing
the truth, which came out very quickly after Hall and Hetty were arrested. Hall confessed almost immediately.
What was the truth?
They murdered Bobby shortly after kidnapping him, drove him across state lines to Kansas, shot him, and then drove the body back to St. Joseph, Missouri, where Hetty lived.
So they collected the ransom after they'd already killed him, giving the parents that false hope.
For about 7 hours, yeah. Just unimaginable cruelty.
Where? Where did they find Bobby?
Buried in his shallow grave, near Bonnie Hetty's porch. wrapped in plastic with lime poured over him to speed decomposition and mask the smell.
And wasn't there one more detail, something Hall admitted?
Yes. The final ghastly detail. Hall admitted he had planted flowers on top of the grave.
Planted flowers while making calls to confirm the ransom? It's monstrous.
Absolutely monstrous. Justice, in this case, was incredibly swift, though. Both Hall and Hetty pled guilty. They were executed together in the gas chamber that same December, just months after the crime.
The judge called it the most cold-blooded, brutal murder he'd ever tried. And it's hard to argue with that, the calculation, the deception.
It wasn't just the killing. It was the prolonged psychological torture inflicted on the parents after the fact. Accepting the money, giving those assurances, it's a level of calculated cruelty that's almost beyond comprehension.
Looking back at all three Hearst's identity being erased, Graham's terrifying indifference to mass death, the absolute betrayal in the Greenlee's case, there's this running thread, isn't there? This cold, chilling calculation.
Yeah, the horror isn't impulsive here. It's planned. It resides in those deliberate, cold choices made in the human mind.
Whether it's destroying personality, maximizing profit, or ensuring a ransom payout even after the leverage is gone.
Exactly. If you look at these three, brainwashing, insurance fraud, killing, ransom, betrayal, the common thread is prioritizing some abstract goal, whether it's ideology, money, or just. Avoiding consequences over the basic fundamental value of a human life. It really makes you wonder, what single